I hear leaders say all the time, I wish people would tell me what's going on. And here's the thing, maybe they are. Sometimes that silence is the message. Right now, employee engagement is at an all-time low. And disengaged people, they don't argue. They're not likely to speak up. Research consistently shows that many employees withhold important information from their managers, not because they don't care, but because they fear negative consequences or they believe speaking up won't make a difference. So if you have a title, you have a barrier. That positional power actually suppresses disagreement, whether you intend to or not. Now, they've got these headwinds of people speaking up, and you want to make sure you don't even make it harder. I've been part of organizations where there's a meeting, and then there's these side conversations, these discussions, and all of a sudden, different decision comes about. At the very least, you've now wasted the time in that meeting. And at the worst, you're creating a culture where politics are deciding things, not the team. So don't do that. Let me tell you about a time I experienced this. We were building a web-based system and security was a very big concern. The tech lead said he had it covered. And so everyone nodded. They deferred to the expert and we moved on in the meeting. But on paper, we were aligned. But then one by one, people came to me privately. Hey, are we sure about the security design? They had doubts, but they didn't know how to bring them up. They were nervous to question the tech lead's design. They were compliant, but we weren't aligned as a team. So I called them in and I said, hey, we all know security is critical. Let's all test this design, make sure we feel good about it. The tech lead actually welcomed this examination. He wanted a secure system. And so people brought up their concerns. It was super productive. And the thing is, that design turned out to be solid. By the end of that meeting, the team's confidence was high. They had built trust in each other and in the design. And nobody felt vindicated or exposed. Everyone walked out of that meeting more aligned and committed because now we had an agreement that was visible and real. So here are two things you can do this week. First, if you sense hesitation in that silence, acknowledge it. I don't mean challenge it or force it, but just notice it and say, hey, I'm hearing some hesitation or it feels like there's some lingering doubt. And I'd like to understand that before we decide. And then stop. Don't fix or defend or try to identify what the sticking points are. Let that tension just sit for a minute and give people a chance to process and see what comes out. If people do share, ask questions, listen, and then confirm you heard them right, and then ask for more. See, if people see that it is safe to share, they're going to be more willing to speak up. The second technique is what Lencioni calls mining for conflict. And before making a decision or finalizing a decision, you go around the room and ask every person to name one thing wrong or risky about that decision. Not any concerns, because that's just going to get silence. But each person has to name one risk, no matter how far-fetched. Nobody gets a pass. So you're not inviting disagreement, you're requiring it. I'd love to know if you see this kind of silence showing up in your teams or where you've had healthy conflict that produced real alignment. Let me know. And if you want to subscribe and get more videos, you can subscribe on YouTube or go to my website, shiftfocus.com, and subscribe to my Simple Sundays email. There I share these videos and more about how to be a better manager and leader. See you next time.